313 days, or about 10 months ago, I weighed in at 230 pounds. I was obese, socially awkward, and in the worst mental and physical state of my life. I was routinely bullied and made fun of for how I looked, what my weight was, and my physical ability. Because it was quarantine and I had some extra money from snow shoveling, I decided to buy a TV so I could play in my room and I could play video games on my Xbox. Unfortunately, I was addicted to video games and I had a very hard time putting down the fork and stopping myself from eating. So with those two combined, I started gaining a lot of weight. Ever since I was younger, I kind of had a hard time with stuff like this. I was always a bit chubbier. I grew up in a household where we weren't athletic. We were just people. We were just normal people. And to us, normal was eating what you want and eating too much in a day. It strips a kid from his childhood. And I think even more for boys, whenever they can't do stuff with their friends. I was always the slowest in the group. I could never keep up at the track meets. During gym class, I was always the last one to be picked. I always felt self-conscious going to games, and whenever I went to practices, I was always worried that my teammates were looking at me or making fun of me behind my back. I had a difficult time doing almost anything athletic, but I did have a couple of sports teams I was on. I played volleyball, badminton, and also some taekwondo. But it wasn't until more recently that I started getting into soccer. Unfortunately, with COVID, we got quarantined for about 6 weeks. And in those 6 weeks, I gained so much weight because I was in my room and I was just force feeding myself while I was playing video games. I wasn't paying attention to school and I wasn't doing well in life. I was struggling with mental health too, and I know how difficult it is. I had issues with depression where sometimes I just wouldn't want to get out of bed. I struggled with social situations and I just didn't want to leave the house. I was scared of other people's opinions. I spent a lot of my childhood being insecure about my body and feeling self-conscious and feeling like I was less of a person than everyone else. And a lot of the time I was treated like less of a person than other people. But things did need to change. And there was one day where I looked at myself and I said, I just can't keep doing this anymore. I've gained 30 pounds in the last year, and I stared into that mirror and I said, what have I become? Is this really what I want with my life? Have I really become the best version of myself? So we made some drastic changes. I cut out a lot of different foods and I started dieting properly. The TV that I mentioned earlier, I sold it along with both of my Xboxes and my TV stand. At the time, and this was just a little bit before February 1st of 2021, my deadlift was a little under 200 pounds at 190. My squat form was so bad that it was actually unsafe for me to squat because I'd go on my toes and it was just a mess of a form, so we're going to say I just squat body weight. And my bench press was pretty close to 90 pounds. I was already in soccer before, but I started taking it more seriously. I started enjoying training like I wanted to play professional. And indeed, I did decide that that would become my goal. I wanted to play professional soccer in Europe. I began going to the gym, started doing cardio, I started eating better, focusing on nutrition, and I started trying to learn everything I could from the internet. Now, unfortunately, this was where I made some mistakes, and everyone does make mistakes in their fitness journey. My main mistake was focusing on all the details. As a kid, even now that I'm training to be a professional athlete, I don't need to count all of my macros. I don't need to cut out anything that has bad oils or bad fats in it. It's just not necessary. I was so desperate to lose weight and to look like a better version of myself. I was seeking other people's compliments and their praise of me, that I began kind of forgetting what was important. And what was important was me. It was being healthy, being fulfilled. I had some bad friendships over the time, got into some arguments, and I still struggled with mental health, especially in the beginning of my journey. But one of the biggest regrets I have was that I was actually starving myself. Now, starving yourself doesn't mean that you aren't eating. It means that you aren't eating enough. So typically, to maintain your body weight, you'd need about 2,500 calories, at least for someone my size. Right now, I'm in a healthy deficit of 500 calories, so I'm eating at about 2,000 calories a day. Back then, I was eating under 1,600 calories a day, which is a serious issue. But I was so focused on looking better that I just stuck to it, and I stuck to whatever trends I could. And unfortunately, I do have to credit most of my weight loss to starvation. I just want to stop right here and warn you, this is not something that anyone should do. If you want more advice on this, go watch some Greg Doucette videos. He is an absolutely amazing person, a fellow Canadian, and he gives good advice. I have never clicked on a video where I thought, man, this guy is just, doesn't know what he's doing. He's always great. So this isn't going to be an advice video, this is what I did, whether it was right or wrong. So again, go check out his videos, especially if you're going to start something like this. On May 16th, I weighed in at a total of 216 pounds. I'd lost 15 pounds in a couple months. I felt great. I wasn't noticing much change, and I was a little bit discouraged about that. But what you have to understand is that I look at myself every day in the mirror, and even now I don't see change. Even now I'm not satisfied with how I look, even though I've slimmed down a lot. And to be honest, I don't think I'll ever be satisfied with anything. But unfortunately, that's what you have to do to become good, to become a better version of yourself. I continued my journey, and thankfully, school ended. My grade 9 year was done, and summer was in. Now, summer, like I'd said earlier, I got into some bad friendships, which ended with some arguments. I spent all of summer alone, and this was arguably the best thing that could have happened to me. Over summer, I focused on soccer. I worked and worked and worked. I was on the soccer field 6 hours a day at least. I struggled through quite a few injuries throughout the year. I've broken toes, torn ankles, had stress fractures in my feet, and even just a couple days ago I could hardly walk on one of my feet because of my toes. But all I wanted to do was train and keep going and just get better. And I must say, throughout that summer, I absolutely have to credit most of my weight loss to a mixture of eating low calories, which didn't do it properly, but I did eat low calories, and also soccer. Soccer was amazing for me. So at the beginning of the summer, I weighed in at just under 200 pounds at around 195 area. Throughout the summer, I continued to see more and more results on the scales and the weights and everything I was doing. I felt like I was getting faster. I started to not be outrun by every opponent I came across on the field. And honestly, it felt great. The feeling of being able to run and keep up with someone was just such a joy for me. I started trying to have a more positive outlook on life. An outlook of, bad things can happen, but you have to find the good in it. Some training sessions I wouldn't want to go. I would be exhausted. I wouldn't want to be there. But then I'd turn on some music and I'd get into the mood and I'd be like, oh, I get to play soccer. Today is a good day. At the end of the summer and beginning of my grade 10 year, I weighed in at just around 170 pounds. Now, obviously, this was incredible. 60 pounds gone. That was just insane. Now was whenever I started having physical issues because of the low calories I was eating. And I talked to my friends about some of it, and we realized that, I was not eating enough, and I could still get results by eating more and not starving myself. So I went into a much healthier deficit that I'm still in now, of about 500 calories below maintenance. Like I said, I'm at 2,000 calories now. I have increased my training, and now I am really focusing on my dream of playing professional soccer. I get 10 hours of sleep, and I get the proper amount of hydration. Now I weigh in at 165 pounds. Now my deadlift is 305 pounds, my squat is 205, and my bench press is 155 pounds. More confidence, and I've managed to have a much more positive outlook on life. Unfortunately, I am still quite socially awkward. And although, like I've said, I haven't done this right, I am so proud of how far I've come, and even though maybe it wasn't as healthy as it could have been, I would not change it for the world. The way I did things taught me new lessons about life. They taught me new things. They taught me how to be serious. They taught me how to take things seriously. I'm not doing it just for fun. I'm not going to the gym just to say, oh man, I'm gonna get in some bicep curls today. It taught me how to have a strict routine, how to conform to a schedule. And more importantly, it's taught me how to not be lazy. I only have so many hours in the day, and I work hard in every single one of them. But as you guys might have noticed, the title says part 1. Now, there isn't going to be a part 2 on these 10 months unless you have questions and you want me to go more in detail. But then part 2, we're going to go into a 12-week program. This program is going to involve me eating strictly healthy. I've been having a hard time recently with my diet. I have been going up in weight, unfortunately. I'm really trying to get a hold of that. So we're going to start going really hard in training. And I'm going to have a more strict schedule so I can actually have a proper schedule to follow. My goal right now is to get down to maybe the 155 to 160 area. I would like to be even leaner than I am now if possible. And then once we're done that, hopefully we'll be faster and better. We're going to be taking tons of measurements like jump height, how fast we can run, how much we can deadlift, stuff like that. But the main part about that is it's going to teach me to be the best version of myself. And then part 3 is going to be my maintenance diet. So hopefully the plan is I'm going to turn myself into a monster and I'm going to stay that way. I'm going to have a healthier diet and I will have to maybe experiment a little bit, see how many calories I need to be, to maintain my body weight. Not even maintain my body weight, to maintain the amount of body fat percentage I have. And then I will continue with my training, see what I can do, see what I can improve on. But that will be part 3, is kind of maintaining. So started off bad, we're gotten down to here, intermediate, I'm pretty good, pretty average. Now, taking it to the next level. We are going to be the best version of ourselves.